everyone, and welcome to Seal Harbor, Maine. My name is Sherry Gilmore and I run the Acadia Institute of Oceanography. And you can see I'm here right now. We're going to be here for a few weeks, and so the next set of videos that you're going to be seeing on YouTube will have all been filmed in and around the areas where our students come in the summertime to study. When a student attends AIO, we visit many different ecosystems, and in those ecosystems we discuss them in terms of zonation or zones, where we talk about the organisms that live there and how they interact with the environment and each other. But what exactly do we mean by a zone, and what role do they play in each ecosystem? A zone is defined as a biogeographic region that supports similar plants and animals and is often dominated by particular organisms. So let's think of your home as a zone, where your family spends most of the time, and because that is where you get most everything you need to live. In nature, it's really the same thing. Plants and animals live in particular zones because most everything they need to survive can be found there. But why? Why did you choose your particular home or zone? We call these things limiting factors. In your home, you might choose a house with, say, 3 bedrooms as opposed to 2, so that everyone has their own space to thrive. And in this time of the pandemic, you know the stresses that can be caused when people are all living very tightly together. Or you may have chosen a house because it has a great kitchen and all the resources you need to survive are there. The same thing happens in these ecosystems. It's competition. Competition for space, competition for food resources. So let's go visit some ecosystems and I'll show you what this means. Welcome to the salt marsh. A salt marsh is an estuary. That means it has fresh water flowing in and salt water flowing in. And where they meet, it becomes brackish water. That brackish water is full of nutrients, which keeps this area constantly changing, constantly growing, and it makes it one of the most productive areas in the world. Estuaries are incredibly important areas as they are feeding grounds and breeding grounds for all kinds of animals. You'll find small mammals here, all the way down to insects, snakes, many birds that pass through on their migratory routes, and they count on a place like the salt marsh to feed. Our zonation here starts with the area that you see to my right, which is called the critical edge. It's the forested area that slopes into the salt marsh. This area is important for mammals that live and depend on the forested area as their home. They move into the salt marsh to get food. Where does the food come from? A lot of it comes down from the ocean. You'll find all kinds of things on the grass where I'm standing, such as crabs and snails and all kinds of food that the animals can eat. It's actually said that 60% of all commercial fish spend part of their life in salt marshes, so there's certainly a smorgasbord of food available.
In a salt marsh, life is zoned not only according to where they can get their needs met, but mostly due to their tolerance for salt. Starting with the uplands, we move through the transition or critical edge into the high marsh and then the low marsh, which ends at the channel of water and mudflats. The area near the channel is the wettest and saltiest, so you'll find plants that can tolerate salt or are good at removing salt. One such grass, called cordgrass or Spartina altiniflora, lives right next to the channel. As you move away from the mudflat and channel, you'll see more Spartina grasses called patens, and you'll also find succulents like sea pickles or glasswort. You'll also find evidence of visiting animal life here. Moving towards the high marsh, you'll find salt marsh rush and more flowering plants such as sea meadow and sea aster. Rather than compete for space with low marsh plants that are more salt tolerant, these plants can remove the small amount of salt they take in and still survive. In part 2 of Coastal Zonation, we'll visit 2 other coastal environments with very different zonations.